Yo, Devy Junkies. Welcome to another Devy Dashboard production. I am Brandon Lejeune, host of the Devy Deep Dive podcast and creator of the Devy Dashboard. I'm joined today by Corey Pereira and Britt Sanders, two contributors for the Devy Dashboard. How are you gentlemen doing?
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
It's sunny. I'm thrilled.
It's sunny. It is late. It is late July, and we got fall ball in about a month and a half, and it's getting close, man. So we tonight want to talk about some deep sleepers. We're each going to talk about two players that are a little bit deeper, maybe Devy buys, deep Devy buys. We like to call them sleepers, right? And we're going to talk about them and basically tell you why you should be going out and possibly acquiring them in a trade if you're doing some supplemental C2C drafts. They're probably available in some of these drafts, as you add more players to your C2C roster. So let's get started. I'm going to go first, and I want to talk about Taj Washington. He is a Memphis transfer who is now going to play for USC. So when I heard this news of the transfer, really didn't know much about Taj Washington very much from Memphis. He really had a very productive season last year, 43 receptions, 743 yards, averaging 17.3 yards a reception, and had 6 touchdowns as a redshirt freshman. So this year he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. So, he averaged 7.9 yak per play. Now, I put a video out on my YouTube channel of this kid, and feel free to go and take a look at that. But I was really impressed. He's 5'11", 175 pounds, but I think he plays bigger than that. I mean, this kid played 84% of his runs were outside, right? So as a smaller guy, and he dominated on the outside. I mean, go take a look at this film. I want you to see, how he stretches the field vertically. He wins 50-50 balls. I mean, and he is a physical receiver. And as you guys know, listen to my podcast or the guys on the Devy Dashboard, they know for wide receivers, for me, they have to be, physical guys, right? And this kid goes up and gets the ball. So I encourage you to go see that highlight film. And he's just really physical. So I'm just looking at right now. I got him at Devy position, 65th overall in my overall 100 ranks in my Devy Dashboard. I mean, that's how high I am on this guy. And, Drake London right now should be going out of the slot and going to the outside, hopefully, so we can see him in that role. And I have a feeling that Taj Washington could start opposite him. I know Brew McCoy's there, but this kid is going to be the guy that's going to be down the field, the vertical threat. And a lot of people are going to question whether or not Slovis can get him the ball or not. I'm confident that Slovis maybe rebounds this year, but I think this kid is a sleeper in the making. I got him in 4 of my 7 supplemental drafts in my C2C leagues, and I'm super pumped to get him. So if you haven't heard of Taj Washington, he's going to be productive at USC this year. He's a guy that I'm super excited about, as you can probably tell. So, all right, Brett, who do you got, buddy?
Yeah, I got Sean Tucker, a player that I first found an affinity to when I found out that he would slightly go over his game film on Twitter after the game. Just really brief, always positive. I loved it. It was awesime. I wrote an article about him.
That was awesome.
It's so cool. I wrote an article about him on the Breakout Finder, and I'm in love with his ability. Now, he's plays for Syracuse. He is in an ACC conference, so he's got to go against a little bit. He's going to need to continually be producing more just to make up for that difference, right? Analytic wise, he had a BMI of 29%. He had a 25.32 dominator rating, a 25.33 weighted dominator rating. He had 24.25% of the rushing share. He had a 20% touchdown rate. He saw 5.93% of the receiving share. So these are good numbers to kind of build upon against teams that were, actual defenses, not ACC defenses, right? So Clemson, 10 yards for 63 or 10 attempts for 63 yards and a touchdown. Boston College, 11 yards, 52 or 11 attempts and 52 yards. Notre Dame, 23 attempts, 101 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions for 46 yards. The other moderate flag is that he's not uber involved in the receiving game. He's going to need to grow that a little bit, especially to kind of, again, make himself known and get that draft capital to be a viable fantasy option in the NFL draft. But I really like Sean Tucker. What I really want to see him do is have an awesome sophomore career. And then I want to see him transfer. And I want to see him transfer to a better conference to kind of help his NFL draft stock. Because that's what he's really going to need. He's going to need something whatever it is to kind of boost him to get into that known area of players.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love Sean Tucker was actually on the brink of my top 100 that I've got on the Devy dashboard. He actually did leave shortly after, but I do like him. He had a great freshman season. I mean, biggest concern a lot of people are going to talk about is his athleticism, but I mean, there's some reports out there that this guy freaking runs pretty damn fast. He's got some pretty good 100-meter times, or I think, or a pretty good 40 time. One of the two. He's got a pretty good recorded time, but I don't exactly see it on the field. But I still think he's a hell of a running back. He's got good vision, and I mean, and to your point, Brandon, Taj Washington, great pick there. Loved him watching him at Memphis. My comp for him has always been Tylan Wallace, because he's kind of been a smaller guy who plays huge, physical, has always won those 50-50 catches, plays on the outside. You know what I mean? He might even be faster than Tylan Wallace was, but part of me wishes he kind of stayed there at Memphis and kind of just became the next Calvin Austin, a nice productive role there. But, you know, I think there's going to be more eyes at USC on him, so it's probably better for his draft stock at the end of the day. But anyways, I mean, I'll get into my guy here. My first deep sleeper is, I'm going to go a little deep here. To a guy who doesn't really have a lot of production again. It's going to be a sophomore running back out of Pittsburgh by the name of Israel Abanaconda. Now, Israel was just a 3-star prospect in the 2020 class, so he's pretty deep. Not a lot of people were really paying attention to him, but I mean, his recruitment process was actually pretty good. I mean, he was the Elite 11 MVP at running back back in 2019, I believe it was. Strong testing numbers, 4.5 40, 39-inch vertical. So this guy has a lot of explosion, a lot of speed to him. You know, he showed up at Pitt without a lot of expectations in year one last year. He came in third on the depth chart. Vincent Davis was taking the ball there. So really, he kind of needed the year to kind of get a little bit stronger, get a little better, refine his game, because I mean, it showed on the field in his freshman season too. You know, I think he had under 30 carries, didn't even hit 4 point yards per carry, or 4 point yards per carry. So yeah, he was a very raw athlete, and it showed on the field, right? But I mean, according to Pete Naduzzi, I think is his way to pronounce the head coach's last name. Israel has showed up as like a different looking guy this year, right? He showed up working on a lot of things, working up on pass protection. He showed up bulking up to 210 pounds. And he was the best back in the spring game, notching 6 carries for 77 yards. So, I mean, to me, this guy is going to be the shot in the arm that this running game needs. I mean, they ranked 13th out of 15th in the ACC last year. And Naduzzi recently, a quote from him, he called Vincent Davis the starter way earlier in the year. He actually pulled back on it about a couple weeks back. He goes, hey, well, no, I shouldn't have said that. Like, Izzy's really coming on strong. They call him Izzy. He goes, Izzy's really coming on strong this year. He's pushing for that starting gig. So I really think that this guy is kind of like an undercover gem with a lot of raw athleticism that could possibly take over the Pittsburgh backfield and be climbing up rankings before we know it.
I love it. I love your enthusiasm.
I really like it.
You're into it, man. I like it. Well, I'm gonna swing with that enthusiasm because I'm really pumped with this guy. My next deep sleeper is Rome Odunze from Washington, another player that Corey just talked about, a player who didn't have a lot of production last year. His deep player, mine didn't either. He had 6 receptions for 72 yards. He plays for Washington. He's 6'3", 205 pounds. Played just 2 games this past season. But I'll tell you what, man, again, I put a film out on my YouTube channel of his spring game, and I encourage you to go watch that, because what you're going to see is a guy, when I watched the spring game and I watched this kid and I went back and watched these 2 games, he has got that alpha mentality. You can see the alpha in him, is his physicality. He's big, he's tall, he's lanky, he's got big arms. I mean, he made a catch with a toe tap at that spring game that just showed his athleticism. That it was really, really impressive. Big catch radius. And what I like about him too, he really did well in the yak in that spring game, where he was breaking tackles and shedding contact. And again, that physicality of a guy 6'3", 205. I love that size. My only problem is he plays for Washington, right? I mean, if he was anywhere else, I think more people would probably be excited about him. So kind of what Corey said about his player, maybe this guy will play obviously this year at Washington and then maybe transfer and get to another program where he can, really excel, because it looks like Dylan Morris is going to be the QB again. He's nothing special. Everyone's waiting for Sam Heward. When's his moment? We don't know when that's going to be. But either way, I don't think his quarterback play is going to really be able to make this kid blossom like he potentially could in another, on another team. So I think he's a great buy right now. I got several shares of him. I actually traded for him not too long ago in another league. I think he's got all the, he may reminded me of like a little baby George Pickens. So I'm just not the same skill set, but just from the look, his athleticism, the dog when he got up, the physicality, love myself some Rome Odunze. So I think he's a player that could potentially hope he gets the hell out of Washington. Let's just leave it at that. So, all right, Britt, who you got? Your second player.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a incoming freshman, Devin Neal, 5'11", initially clocked at 208 pounds. However, if you were a part of that very brief hiatus of joy in which all of Devy community was just propping Devin Neal up as their Lord and Savior, he had he DM'd Corey, I think, right?
Yeah, man.
I was jealous I wasn't chosen. I was sad. But so on February 19th, he was at a training facility and he recorded a 39.9-inch vertical jump at 219 pounds, which means he gained an additional 11 pounds. This young man is absolutely rocked up. When you're looking at the competition he's going to face in Kansas, well, there really quite honestly isn't any. No running back eclipsed over 400 yards, and they all had about at least 50 attempts to their name. Quite honestly, it is going to be his backfield from day one. And when you turn on a film, and Brandon did do a film breakdown, so I strongly recommend going and checking it out. It is incredibly exciting. And this is another player I coincidentally wrote about on the Breakout Finder, because he's just a player I believe in. And you can get him probably in your second or third round of your freshman drafts. He is going to just be an absolute rocked up running back. And he already has that size that you want going to the NFL. The only concern with him is he's a dual athlete. So he also plays baseball, right? So then you're kind of the Jerry and Ely a little bit. You're carrying that worry, that risk that he's going to get drafted by a team early rounds and just decide to go the baseball route and save his brain a little bit instead of going the NFL route. That's my only concern with Devin Neal, because other than that, I'm just beyond ecstatic for this young man, and I cannot wait to see him eat every single Saturday.
I'll tell you what, man, I use this term a lot, the Devy Darling, dude. I don't know if there could not be more of a Devy Darling running back in that class, man. I don't know how it all got started, but I mean, the snowball is rolling down the hill, man, fast and furious. So, all right, Corey, who's your second player?
Yeah, I mean, I love it, guys. Love the Neal call. I'm a big fan too. But my second player here, I'm going to be heading over to Purdue, who's had some really good wide receiver production lately, and I'm going to be talking about a different wide receiver there by the name of Milton Wright. Now you look at Purdue's success recently, with Rondale Moore getting drafted in the second round. David Bell's going to possibly go in the first round. I'm not the hugest David Bell guy, but he's probably going to go in the first round. He's being mocked there anyway. So regardless, they're getting a lot of NFL attention. They're getting a lot of people out there. And in my opinion, the next possible guy could be Milton Wright. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. So he's a big guy. But I mean, the thing that stands out with him on film is the speed. And I mean, everybody kind of talks about how blazing fast this guy is, right? And I mean, he's also a versatile player. He's not just a one-trick pony deep down the field. I mean, in high school, he played both sides of the ball. He played on defense. He played returner on special teams. He also rushed the ball for 400 yards and 7 scores in his senior season. So this guy was dynamic. He's going to be the perfect guy to possibly fill that Rondale Moore void and kind of be that guy. But I mean, he's 6'3", 200 instead of 5'8" and 160 pounds, or whatever Rondale Moore was. But there was 3 games this year where Rondale Moore missed fully, anyways, and Milton Wright ended up averaging 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. And I mean, that doesn't sound the greatest, but actually, if you actually look at a 2-game sample size where he went over 85 yards both games, he actually finished one game with 100 yards and 1 touchdown. So, I mean, this guy became a main part of the offense the minute Rondale Moore was gone, right? And, I think, like I said, he's a good guy that's can replace Rondale Moore's production here. He's going to be a strong running mate for Bell on the outside, and then there's also the possibility he is junior, so there's possibility of him coming out this year, right, or next year as well. But there's a possibility that he stays, And then he's atop the depth chart in a very productive pass-happy system that's been getting a lot of these guys drafted, right? So, I mean, I know we don't always love senior wide receivers, but if he does stay, then he's going to be set up for a lot of production. And I mean, we're not expecting a whole lot from Milton Wright at this point right now. So anything you do get is going to be gravy, right? So, I mean, Milton Wright does sneak into my top 100, actually. I believe in the 90s, about 91. I don't have his ADP on me, but I know he goes fairly late. I think 13th or 14th round in a lot of the drafts I am. But he's still a great value right now. He's basically free, and he's a guy that could blow up this year and be rising up Devy board. So I mean, he's a guy I'm actively targeting, and I think you should too.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. Yeah, man, and this is what this is all about, right? Giving you guys some names just for you to do your own research, check it out, check your leagues, check your teams, and watch some film and stuff like that. Some guys that don't know if they're going to make it to the NFL, but given the circumstance, we believe that they've got the skill set maybe to make that elevation jump when the time is right. So, so that's the show, man. I really appreciate you tuning in, and appreciate it, guys. Great work, man. We'll be back with more shows soon. See ya.
All you have all the milk right you can get.